Like any workplace, the NBA has had its fair share of problem childs, but what if I told you there was once a player so wild that nobody could hold him back? What's up guys, it's Colin from Next Man Up, and today I want to talk about the NBA's premier problem starter. And no, I'm not talking about Ja Morant or Draymond Green. I'm not even talking about Meta World Peace. Today I'm going to talk to you guys about Latrell Sprewell, a name that will live on in the NBA's history books.
To pay the rent.
Sprewell was born in 1970 in Milwaukee, and he spent his early life living there as well as Flint, Michigan. Sprewell didn't even play organized basketball until his senior year of high school, where he picked up the nickname Big Swag. He would immediately come in and average 28 points per game in his lone high school basketball season. Despite his great senior year, major colleges just hadn't seen enough of Sprewell to give him an offer, so he enrolled in Three Rivers Junior College in Connecticut. And at Three Rivers, the 6'5" Sprewell built up a reputation of being a hard-nosed, gritty player who would contribute, especially on the defensive side. After 2 years of dominance at the JUCO level, the Alabama Crimson Tide would bring in Sprewell as a transfer.
Obviously, he's a man that must check Shaquille O'Neal.
No, Sprewell's one of those players America's going to hear about.
Sprewell would play for Alabama his junior and senior year of college, and he would average 18 and 5, as well as 2 steals during his senior campaign. This really great season earned him a spot on the All-SEC team, and Sprewell looked to declare for the 1922 NBA Draft, where he admittedly wasn't getting too much hype. In a class highlighted by the two-headed monster of Shaquille O'Neal and Alonzo Mourning, the 22-year-old Sprewell went at pick number 24 to the Golden State Warriors. Now, Latrell Sprewell came out firing for the Warriors as he fit right in with the already set duo of Mullen and Hardaway. Sprewell became the first rookie in Warriors history to put up 1,000 points, 250 rebounds, 250 assists, 100 steals, and 50 blocks all in one season. Sprewell also was the team leader in minutes played, as he started 69 games this year for the Dubs. This solid rookie campaign even earned him a spot on the All-NBA's rookie second team, a spot that nobody anticipated Sprewell to be taken up earlier in the year. In Spree's sophomore season, he looked even better. His point per game total jumped to 21, and he was still averaging 5 rebounds and 5 assists every night, along to go with 2 steals. This, with his scoring flair, was really setting the league on fire. In this season, Spree and rookie stud Chris Webber brought the Warriors back to the playoffs, where they'd eventually get swept in the first round by Phoenix. But over the next couple of years, Sprewell would continuously improve, averaging around 24 points per game, which was around top 5 in the league at the time. Sprewell was named to the Western Conference All-Star squad in 1994, 95, and 97 as a member of the Golden State Warriors. But on December 1st, 1997, Latrell Sprewell's NBA career would be changed forever. Sprewell's style of play had always been in-your-face and aggressive and high-flying, but this came back to haunt him after getting in a confrontation with head coach PJ Carlesimo in practice. Coach Carlesimo told Sprewell to put a little bit of mustard on his passes during a practice which was in a stretch of the season where the Warriors were 1-11 and desperately trying to find their own identity. Now, Sprewell did not take this comment lightly, and he would get up in the face of his head coach, which would cause a really big argument. Following some shouting, Sprewell grabbed his coach's neck and began to choke him out before being pulled away by teammates and other coaches. During this altercation, Sprewell was screaming, and he was telling Coach Carlesimo that he was going to murder him. Now, obviously, Spree was kicked out of practice after this altercation, but he would come back 20 minutes later to throw one more punch at Carlesimo before being pulled away once again. Now, obviously, this was the first time Sprewell had ever got violent with a coach, but he had had interactions in the past with teammates, notably Jerome Kersey and Byron Houston, who he both got into physical altercations with during practice. Not to mention, Sprewell and Carlesimo had a history of arguing, as coach was a no-nonsense type of guy, and he had benched Sprewell in the past for arguments and violations of team policies. Now, the Warriors initially planned to cut Sprewell altogether after the NBA handed him a year-long suspension. This was the longest the NBA had ever set, but after Sprewell appealed, the suspension was reduced to 68 games. That still covered the rest of the NBA season and lost Sprewell somewhere around $6 million of pay. Because of the NBA's lockout season in '98, Sprewell didn't come back to basketball until 1999, where he was immediately traded to the New York Knicks for aging John Starks and Terry Cummings, as well as a rotational player Chris Mills. Now, Knicks fans were very 50-50 on the idea of bringing Sprewell in. Some saw it as too risky for a team still revolving around their legendary player and leader Patrick Ewing. And other Knicks fans loved Sprewell, as he was still the high-flying forward who played into the anti-hero role maybe a little bit too well. With that being said, the Knicks went through with the deal, and led by Ewing, Sprewell came off the bench as the sixth man, and they found their way into the 8th spot in the East, a position that did look pretty grim. But the Knicks would go on to beat the Heat, then the Hawks, and then the Pacers to work their way all the way to the NBA Finals, while over in Golden State, they fired Coach Carlesimo after another disappointing start to a season. Unfortunately for New York and Sprewell, they would be matched up against the front court pair of Tim Duncan and David Robinson in the finals, which was simply too much for the 8th seeded Knicks, but not to the fault of Sprewell. In the finals, Spree upped his points per game total from 16 all the way to 26, and he became the Knicks' primary scorer. In Game 5, that gave the Spurs the finals trophy, Sprewell did all that he could. He scored 35 of the Knicks' 78 points in a loss. After showing the Knicks that he was ready to make an immediate impact, New York would move Spree to the starting small forward spot, and he would average 19 points per game in the 1999-2000 season, which led the Knicks all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals once again. Just like the year before, Spree stepped it up when it mattered, and he averaged 20 points per game in the closeout series, but the Indiana Pacers did get the best of them, and they were knocked out in that round. But this continued level of play did not go unnoticed, and this inspired the Knicks to give him a 5-year, $62 million contract extension, which kept the electric scorer put in Madison Square Garden. After the Knicks eventually moved on from Patrick Ewing, Sprewell had another good season, averaging 18 points per game, and he earned himself an All-Star selection for the 4th time in his career, but the Knicks were taking a step back as they were knocked out in the first round of the playoffs. The next season, Spree was averaging close to 20 points per game, but the Knicks were still slowly falling apart. Spree had to put up over 40 points on multiple nights to keep New York competitive, but in the end, the Knicks missed the playoffs for the first time in 15 seasons. Entering the 2002-2003 season on the wrong side of 30, Sprewell reported to Knicks training camp with a broken hand. Sprewell claimed that he broke his hand on a yachting accident, but the Knicks fined him a record-high $250,000 for not reporting the incident. After this happened, the New York Post claims Sprewell broke his hand during a fight that occurred on his yacht. Sprewell tried to sue the New York Post, but he would lose the lawsuit. Sprewell would still play a majority of that season, putting up around 16 a game, but he took somewhat of a step back from his other seasons in New York. In that offseason, the Knicks would move Sprewell to Minnesota, where he became part of one of the most underrated trios in NBA history. He teamed up with Kevin Garnett and Sam Cassell, who were both putting up around 20 points per game to match Spree's 17. After falling short of the finals, the Wolves offered Sprewell a 3-year, $21 million extension, which was a pretty heavy pay cut. Sprewell was greatly offended by the offer, and in a public press conference, Sprewell went off on the Timberwolves front office, claiming that he has a family to feed. Spree declined the extension, and the Timberwolves didn't budge. In his last season, Sprewell's averages significantly dropped, only averaging 13 a game with significantly worse defense as well as once again being publicly disliked for his statements. I mean, I know a lot of people who feed their family on $40K a year or less, so the working class NBA fans weren't too happy to see Latrell consider $7 million a year insulting. Sprewell was given many opportunities afterwards to sign with teams. The Nuggets, Cavs, and Rockets all offered him contracts that offseason, but he never ended up signing a deal. Even in 2006, the contending Mavericks and Spurs both offered contracts. Both of these teams were favorites in the West to make the NBA Finals, but Sprewell saw the contract offers as insulting because they wouldn't give him enough of a payday. In the end, Sprewell would fizzle out of the basketball world, and his confusing legacy is much more known for his downfalls than his successes. The age-old question will be if Sprewell would have found more success if he could have just handled his emotions. But at the same time, his physical and mental intensity was a major key of the game, so I'll let you decide. Let me know in the comments what you think about Latrell Sprewell, and where does he stack up on the list of biggest hotheads in sports history? Thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, hit the like button and sub if you want to see more. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Stay safe. Peace out.